Joe Krein. We're on Elvis Express Radio, and I have two guests with me, and we have Billy Stanley, Ricky Stanley.
Yes.
How you doing, guys?
Doing great. Nice to meet you, Joe.
Nice to meet you. Guys, when did you first find out that you were going to be going to Memphis and that you were going to have a brother?
We didn't know anything about what was going on with our mom and dad at the time. We were put in a boarding school in Newport News, Virginia. The only time we started hearing about Elvis was on the way to Memphis. They picked us up in a limousine, and we come out and saw a big car. That's nice. We slept most of the way. It was nice being back with our mom, and she kept introducing us to her new dad. And they kept telling us about this great guy named Elvis on the way. Mm-hmm. You know, this is going to be who your new big brother is. It didn't register to us because I was only 7 and Rick was 6, and my younger brother Dave was 4. Mm-hmm. And we pulled up at Graceland. It was at night, and it was all lit up. And they woke us up, and we started looking at. And the only thing I could associate it with was back in the day. There was what little TV I did get to see was. The Wonderful World of Disney when it showed the castle, and that's what it reminded me of when I saw it.
Yeah.
I bet. So you didn't realize who Elvis was?
No, well, our dad was military. We traveled. We were into cultural or anything like that. But we found out real fast. Mm-hmm. Once we met him, who he was, his impact, his great love for people. And the privilege of being with him 18 years was unbelievable. The stuff we saw, everything was just incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Now, by reading your books, I guess when you got there, he bought you a bunch of gifts and.
Well, yeah, we met Elvis that night. They took us downstairs, and he was shooting pool, and he made a shot, and all of a sudden, when the shot stopped and went in the pocket, we went down. We were standing there, and it was kind of like a crowd, and it just kind of parted. And we see Elvis at the end of the pool table, and he walks over. He said, "What do we have here, Daddy?" And these are your new brothers. He said, "Daddy, I always wanted a little brother. Now I've got 3." He picked us all 3 up. We spent the rest of the night with him, and he tucked us into bed. The next day, he comes in the room and to wake us up, all excited. And we were, get up. So we were starting to get up, and we was going to change clothes. No. So we went outside with our pajamas on, and he showed us. We went out in the backyard, and there was 3 of every toy that you can imagine.
Cats, dogs, ponies, scooters, tricycles, bicycles, everything.
Everything you wanted, it was there.
Everything was out there.
Yeah.
You must have thought you won the lottery.
Well, I thought he was Santa Claus at first. Because this was in July, so.
I thought he was God.
Yeah.
Saw so much, thought it was heaven.
Yeah. What kind of person was Vernon?
Vernon was a good guy. I mean, you know, he was real tight with the money. I mean, so we got yin and yang here, where Elvis didn't really know the value of $1, and then you got Dad that did know the value, and I mean, but he was really a good guy. I mean, he treated us like his sons.
Yeah. He really was.
Yeah.
Very fair. Very, very fair.
Can you tell me about the fireworks fights?
Sure. Well, there was usually 2 times a year we'd do those, either in January before New Year's, and then on 4th of July. What we'd do, growing up, we always watched it, and then when we got older, we got to participate in it. But we'd divide up teams, and we'd shoot Roman candles at each other. We'd have a red team and a blue team. We'd have on motorcycle helmets with face shields and stuff. So, and it was a lot of fun. One thing I learned is you don't climb up in a tree and start shooting people, because when you run out, then they can stand there and just shoot you until you get out of the tree. So.
Yeah, and we almost burned out Graceland.
Did you?
Yeah, the house caught on fire. Daddy, Matt, Elvis.
Well, it burned a wall. I mean, it didn't do any damage. Yeah.
So Daddy got freaked out of that. Elvis, Sonny, you're going to burn the house down, type thing. So
yeah.
Be careful from then on.
The main reason we stopped was we were doing it. We was having the Roman candle war, and we thought we were pretty safe, bulletproof. Well, one of the Roman candles hit a guy in the chest and bounced up inside his helmet. and singed his eyebrow, and that's when we pretty much stopped doing that.
Do you remember what guy it was?
I think it was Richard Davis.
Yeah, Richard Davis.
Yeah. What kind of guy was Elvis? Was he different to you than he was to everybody else?
He was a 12-year-old trapped in a 42-year-old body. He was a big kid.
Was he?
He enjoyed life. He enjoyed people. Joy is the wine that God pours into hearts that strive for Him.
Mm-hmm.
He was a happy man. He was not this bummed out thing, this stereotype that people made him. We didn't see that. We lived with him. He was a blast, man. We went to fairgrounds, roller coaster, all that. He was a happy man. And he was a very giving man. His motto in life was to give and forgive.
Well, did you see after a while that he was over-giving, to people? And
There's no such thing as over-giving.
Well, I'm talking about people who would purposely say, that's a beautiful car, Elvis, knowing that Elvis would give cars to people.
Well,
he knew.
I'm not going to make any comments on that.
Okay.
Because my whole thing is about positive Elvis, and I'm not going to get into that.
That's cool.
I want to go back to the question you asked. Did he treat us any different than that? Yes, he did.
Yeah.
We were his brothers.
Right.
We were with him all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't just, okay, we're on tour and we're with him. We were with him all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And the best way to put this is when my mother and father was going through a divorce, Dee and Vernon. He called us up in the room, and we was all three going up the stairs to his room, and we kind of all looking at each other. Well, what have you done? I haven't done nothing. What have you done? Mm-hmm. So we go in his room, and he's sitting there in the bedroom, and he said, guys, I got a serious talk with you. Okay, what is it? He said, well, Mom and Dad are getting divorced. He said, I want to know what you guys are going to do. We didn't hesitate. We said, we're staying with you. We'd been with him 15 years at that time. Mm-hmm. And we just said, no, our loyalty is with you. Mm-hmm. And that meant a lot to him.
Yeah.
He said, well, I'm going to make it, good for your mom too, so.
Mm-hmm. When did you guys start working on the concerts?
Well, Rick was the first one to go.
Yeah. 1969. My buddies, my friends went to Woodstock. I went to Hilton. 1969. I started traveling with them, personal aid, then started in security, woke him up, took care of breakfast, made sure the meals were all right. Woke him up, put him in bed, did all that. I was with him 24/7. Plus, it made me happy because, I like to laugh, I love to play. He did too, and he saw the enemy, so that's when it started for me. And was with him. That's how I started. Was with him till then. Billy came on and told him so was you.
Yeah, I started in 72. Mm-hmm. And then off and on up until 77.
Now, you were at the Madison Square Garden concert,
yes.
Both of you?
Yes.
How was that?
Well, I didn't know anything about New York City except for what I saw in movies. I thought it was just, gangsters and pimps. And...
Now, be nice now. That's where I'm from now.
But,
okay.
It was great.
Yeah.
Once I got there, and the only thing they said is don't go wandering off anywhere because, we are in New York City,
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But, once the show started and stuff, and I saw how the people reacted to Elvis, I'd been seeing it, but this is the first time I'd been as an employee.
Right.
Standing there and keeping the fans back. But I love New York. It was a great city, and, he went up there and kicked his tail.
Yeah, and that's where we met George Harrison, too.
Yeah, George Harrison.
Well, that must have been
something. Yeah, so, they had met earlier, so we were excited about that. Billy and I... Elvis was it, but we also Beatles, Stones, Zeppelin. We introduced Led Zeppelin to Elvis.
Mm-hmm.
So bands like that, he didn't know who they were, but they're always very respectful to him.
Right.
So we enjoyed that part.
Yeah.
Meeting Eric Clapton. And we turned to Elvis. A lot of people don't know because they said, well, you know, what kind of music do you listen to? Well, he'd listen to all types, but sometimes we'd be in the basement playing records and stuff, and he'd walk by and he'd go downstairs and say, what are you playing? So my favorite one was, story is, I was playing Kiss Alive. And he comes downstairs, he said, what's that? And I said, I was playing Let Me Go Rock and Roll by Kiss. I said, oh, that's Kiss. And I said, it's a band that's been out for a while. And I showed him the album cover, and he just kind of looked at me and opened it up, started looking at it. He sat down, and he said, we'll play that song again, because it's got a 50s rock to it. And he was listening to Ace Frehley. He thought, after the song, he said, man, that guy's got some X-rated licks. He thought he was a good guitar player. And the girl I was dating at the time said, well, play this other band that you really like. I said, okay. And he said, who's that? I said, Leonard Skinner. And he said, Kiss and Leonard Skinner. I said, yeah. He said, well, what's that? I said, just listen to the music. So I played Freebird for him. He sat there and he was listening to it. He loved the way it started with the piano and stuff. And as it built up through the guitar solos, he was sitting there looking at the album cover, and he really liked it. And he said, you know, these guys are really going to do something. He said, they're going to be good. And as he got up and walked out, he started singing, If I Leave Tomorrow, You Still Remember Me. Now, you ought to hear Elvis singing that.
Yeah.
That would be cool. That would be very cool.
Unbelievable. That type stuff, film, the influence. You know, he was like our dad. 20 years older than us, so he liked some of the stuff.
Right.
We liked some of the stuff he didn't care for.
Yeah.
They say that Elvis was a little worried about playing in New York.
Well, Elvis was nervous playing anywhere, to be honest with you. He was always nervous on stage.
Was he?
Yeah, oh yeah.
He never got over it.
Never got over that. I mean, and some people would even make a comment with him, you know, just say, you're the king. And he would say, no, there's only one true king. But he was always nervous before he went out and played. But yeah, Madison Square Garden, I mean, because that's the garden.
It was huge to him.
You know, it was a big deal.
5 shows in 2.5 days.
And sold
That
out.
made him a little nervous. Well, you know, Elvis was big. He was great. But he was also human. He was like, man, I really hope we do sell that many shows. You know, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He wasn't afraid of the people. He loved the people up north were more demonstrative. They got into it more than anybody. So he was a little concerned. It was kind of like a prayer, man, Lord, let me help fill this place up. And he did, so it was great.
Is there one special memory that you guys remember about Elvis that you could share with us?
There's so many, it's hard to pick.
I bet.
I mean, but my favorite one, I guess, would be, it's in the documentary that you guys will see.
Okay. Can you tell us about the documentary?
Yeah, I'll tell you after this story. We'll go into it a little bit. My favorite story about Elvis was him and I were riding around Memphis, which he did every day. I mean, when he was home, he'd either get on his motorcycle or he'd get in a car and just ride around because this was his town and he wanted to see what was going on. He loved seeing it grow. With this one particular day, we see a homeless man walking down the street. And so Elvis does a U-turn, go back, and was going to talk to him. Well, that's what I thought he was going to do. I didn't know what he was going to do. So we pull up, and before we even get to where the gentleman was, and Elvis rolled the window down, he said, Billy, hand me my wallet. Okay. Now, Elvis's wallet was so thick, you couldn't fold it. That's how much money he had in it. And that was my job at the time. So he rolls the window down, and he's talking to the gentleman. He shook his hand, and the guy was going, oh, Mr. Presley, because he recognized him immediately. Mr. Presley, he said, I've been a big fan of yours for years. I've been listening to your records. I bought them all, and I've seen all your movies. And Elvis was just sitting there listening to him, and he said, well, thank you, sir. And they talked for a couple minutes, and then Elvis said, was going to shake his hand. He had the money in his hand. He put his hand up, and the money touched him. He said, no, sir, I can't take that. He said, yes, sir, I want you to do this. The homeless man kept saying, well, I can't take that, Mr. Presley. I'm just down on my luck. Things are going to change. He said, I know they will. He said, but this is my way of repaying you for listening to all those records and going to see all those silly movies, and this is my way of repaying you. So the gentleman took it, and the guy started to cry, and Elvis teared up a little bit, and the guy said, God bless you. Elvis looked at him and said, sir, he already has. that's the guy that I remember.
Yeah,
I mean,
mine
people
was-
don't know about.
Yeah, mine was going to St. Jude's Children's Hospital at Christmas time, and walking in the room, seeing those little kids dying, you know, chemo, radiation, their hair gone, and him spending time with those little kids, you know. He was such a good guy. And then there was, you know, I got in trouble in my teens, and he came and got me. And what got me was that when he dressed me down, he was hot mad. He wasn't mean. He would say, "Ricky, this will break your mother's heart." So that's what I remember. I remember that kindness that he showed towards me, even when I was wrong. It was nice, but there's love for people. That's what stuck me.
And I read your book, and I remember there's one part in your book that I really enjoyed when you guys would get in the cars, and you would almost have like a car in front of the limousine or in back of it. You almost like a speed car to make sure that other cars didn't come up and bother the limo.
I was running blocker.
Exactly. Can you explain that to me? I love that.
Well, a lot of times when we go riding around, Elvis would get in the car, and then somebody would always pretty much follow. So that would be me. Because he knew, I mean, he taught me how to race cars and all this stuff growing up. And he knew I had no fear in cars. So he'd take off, and what would happen a lot of times, and it's not so much the fans here in Memphis, but fans from around the world would see him leave, and they would get up and follow. Well, there could have been an accident because, you know, they try to get close and take pictures and stuff like that. So my job was to keep that car from getting up next to Elvis.
Right.
And I did a good job. I mean, nobody ever got up next to him when I was running it. So, I mean, there was a few times coming back from the Memphian Theater. There was one in particular. I think the guys had probably had a little bit too much to drink. And I didn't know anything. Evidently, I was behind his car, and I saw this car pull up next to a red light. And they started mouthing off. And evidently Elvis was talking or something because he didn't hear it. So the light had changed. And this girl I was with, I just told her, I said, "Put your seatbelt on." I had it first gear. I passed his car, and I got up in front of him, and I almost stopped so Elvis could go around. And I kept these guys back until we got on the interstate. And I mean, when we was getting on the interstate, I was going so slow, maybe 5 miles an hour, kept zigzagging because they were trying to get to Elvis again. And by this time, Elvis and then we got on the interstate and was down the road a little way, so I said, "Okay, now we can go." So I get on, and I mean, these guys are coming on hard. I mean, they even bumped me once. So I said, "Well, here we go." So, I mean, I kept them back the whole time. We were on the interstate. I was probably doing about 80, 90 miles an hour this time. I mean, I banged it through the gears. And I'd seen Elvis was far enough gone where they couldn't catch him. So now they was after me. So it was like Vanishing Point heading back to Graceland.
Good movie.
Yeah, well, I saw that with Elvis. And, in fact, when I saw that movie, I went out and got that car. So,
Boy, Challenger.
Yeah, well, mine was midnight blue with a black top. But, in fact, this whole thing was in this. I mean, this chase we were doing was in that car. So I'm flying down Elvis Presley Boulevard. It's 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'm running red lights trying to get to Grayson because now these guys they're not looking for Elvis, they're after me now. And I do a power slide going up into the driveway, and it's lucky the gates were open. And they stop right there at the gate. And I get up there, and I walk in the house, and my girlfriend, she's just a nervous wreck. She's almost in tears, crying. And Elvis, "What happened?" "Oh, nothing, just a little incident on the way home." And he just laughed. And Dave, she told him what happened. He said, "Good job, Billy."
I like that.
Yeah.
Colonel Parker.
I'm not going to say anything.
Okay.
I'll say,
Okay.
he made Elvis a lot of money, and Elvis' life having a lot of money. So I think, I don't know all the personal stuff. I never really asked. I wasn't concerned. He made Elvis a lot of money, and all I know, Elvis enjoyed spending money. And I left it at that. See, you have to understand, I haven't read any book on Elvis.
Okay.
I've never read any book on Elvis. I've written 3.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working on one with my brother.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there's so much stuff out there that I know that is not true. So, I mean, I'm not above anybody or anything. See, Elvis left me and Billy what money can't buy. Fond memories that we will never forget.
Mm-hmm.
So these things about the money and this and that, I don't know. But he made him a lot of money.
Yeah.
And he spent it and he gave it. And so it seemed to me like he was doing his job.
Mm-hmm.
I heard he might have took too much. I don't know. But Elvis Presley, if he didn't like something, he took care of it. You knew it.
Right.
Yeah.
Elvis liked his bling, and he liked the Lisa Marie. Do you have any stories about the Lisa Marie you can share?
I mean, it was just plain to us. I mean, you know, the one I liked the best was when met Led Zeppelin, and they was talking about the Chariots of the Gods, which was the Caesar's Palace plane.
Uh-huh.
And Elvis had to get his little dig in. He said, "Well, I own mine." So that was it. I mean,
Tell me about your documentary.
Billy Stanley's Hound Dog's Ride to Remember, but I just call it Ride to Remember. It's the fans over the years. I mean, I've listened to them over the years. I've dropped out of the media 13, 14 years ago because everybody was asking me the same questions. All they want to talk about is sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And I said, you know what? That's not what he was about. I'm not going to even give you answers to this stuff anymore because I thought it was crap, and it always is. It's overrated. It's overblown. It's not the truth. Mm-hmm. So I said, I'm going to just step away from this. So a few years ago, I was riding my motorcycle. I mean, that's a passion that Elvis shared with me. He gave me my first Harley, and he gave us all 3 motorcycles as we were growing up. So I came up with this. I started riding, like I said, a few years back again. First thing I remember was riding all these motorcycles with Elvis. And these memories started coming back, and I said, well, I want to do a documentary. I went to several production companies, and everybody said, yeah, they love the idea, the concept, but they wanted to do the positive and the negative. And I said, never mind, I'm not going to do it. So I raised the money myself and put this documentary together for the sole purpose of Elvis was my hero growing up, but I want to give the Elvis fans back their hero, and that's what this documentary is all about.
It is good.
Cool.
So,
what do you think about the never-ending popularity of Elvis Presley? Do you think it'll ever end?
I don't think so. I mean, somebody asked me that. Everybody asks. I get that a lot during this week, and this is the first time Rick and I have done an Elvis week together. And this is the first time I've been back since 1997. And I get asked that, and the first thing that comes to my mind is when Elvis was alive, I never thought of Elvis ever dying. And it never even crossed my mind. I mean, I thought this guy was never ending. And in a sense, that's true because he is still here with us today. I mean, if you carry him in your heart, he is with you every day. And that's the way I feel. So it still amazes me, and I know he's looking down and he's smiling, going, you know what? He's laughing, going, these people really love me. And but the fans don't understand is he loved the fans as much as they loved him.
Exactly.
And that's why he kept doing it. I mean, yeah, he was tired. You know, in the last years, you know, everybody said, well, with the weight gain and the health problems and stuff like that. But he couldn't stop getting up there in front of those people. That's where he wanted to be with his fans.
And it was, you know, I won't go into detail, but I'm a minister. I preach all over the country. Elvis loved to make people happy, and if he made them happy through his music was safe. You didn't have to take your kid out of the room. You put Elvis on TV, a movie, you can kick and sit there. You don't have to worry about somebody getting shot with a 45 pistol. Elvis's movies were great. I'm not being disrespectful, but a great line was Elvis may have shook his fanny, but he never showed it. So he was clean, he was wholesome.
Right.
So and that will live on, and we're beginning to see a revival of that coming back. So that's one of the reasons, because kids like that. They've seen those stuff, and they're getting tired of it, and they're coming back.
Tell us.
Well, here's the thing that gets me is there's a younger generation growing up now of Elvis fans, and they need to know what he was really like. I mean, and it amazes me. I was standing in the lobby just yesterday, and there was this little guy dressed like Elvis, and he did a show. And I'm going, that touched my heart so much that that this younger generation. I mean, this is why another reason why I did this documentary. I want these people to know that he was really, really a great guy. I mean, he was the king of everything. I mean, the king of cool, the king of bling. I mean, I see these rappers today with all the rings and stuff. He was doing it way before they were.
And he was charitable before it was fashionable.
Yeah.
Elvis gave long before people do now. But Elvis did it without people knowing. Elvis believed, and I won't get too preachery, but Elvis believed when you gave, you're not supposed to tell. So that he was storing up his treasures in heaven. So that's why he gave and did all that and didn't tell anybody. He wanted his treasure in heaven, and that's where he did it. But he's getting a good amount of it by the way people love him now.
Yeah.
So it's a great deal.
Billy, Ricky, thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe.
I got something I want to ask you. Go ahead and let it run. Elvis bought 2 buses.
2 what?
2 tour buses.
Yeah.
He bought one for T.J. Shepard.
Yeah. Bill Browner.
And he put a down payment on another one for J.D. Was he ever in J.D.'s bus and drove it? That you can remember?
I only remember seeing JD's bus once. Is that the one with the TCB on the side?
Yeah.
Right.
It was set up at Graceland, and I know he got in it because when they brought it up, he went in there to look at it. I don't know if he ever drove it.
I don't know.
I know there's a story that he drove it, went over the curb, and J.D. looked at him, and Elvis said, the story is, J.D. got concerned because Elvis went over the curb after he just got it. And Elvis says, what are you looking at? If I break it, I'll buy you another one. That's the whole story. So
Yeah,
just
well,
is
there's a
that
bunch
true?
of that going around, and my response to that is, well, I wasn't there.
Right.
I think you knew what I'm saying. I wasn't there.
Well, what Mike told me, McGregor,
Yeah.
is that
Yeah.
they went out and picked both buses up, brought them back, supposedly, and this is, like I said, this is what Mike told me, and I believe him wholeheartedly, is Elvis got on the bus, looked at it, and that was it.
Well, see, that's what I remember him looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because they brought it up to the house,
Mhm.
and I even went out there and sat in it for a while, and me and a couple of guys that worked for Elvis sat in it for a while.
Yeah, I mean,
And they always try to
And you could always believe Mike McGregor.
right.
Yep.
They always try to make the story
Elvis-
more and more.
Elvis was a Mike McGregor fan.
Yeah.
Elvis loved Mike McGregor. That's what it was. And it was mutual respect. So you can always, what Mike says, you can count, or did say, you count on Mike. Definitely.
do you have any compliment or any comments about Dr. Nick coming out with a book now, or?
I'm not going to say anything.
Okay.
If I do, it's going to show anger and stuff, and I'm not going to do that.
No, that's fine. I didn't.
I will, because I don't care. I've been criticized ever since my mom married Elvis's dad. And then I started ministry. When he died, my daddy said, you're doing what Elvis always wanted to do. I'm very proud of you. But people are going to be critical of you, Ricky, because you're Elvis's brother. And I said, well, Daddy, people have been critical of me ever since my mom married you. So criticism concerning ministry, I don't care how, it doesn't bother me. People are going to say that, so I don't really care. Now, me personally, he contributed to my brother's death. He did. He just flat out did. And I love people. I don't respect that man. I don't respect any doctor that did what they did. You know, they all say the same thing. Oh, we were watching out for him. We just gave him medication. We'd take care of him. We'd make sure he wouldn't get it from anybody else. That's not true. Elvis Presley got what he wanted, when he wanted, where he wanted. He did it any time. That's the way it was. So my concern, I've forgiven him. I've moved on with my life. But I think he contributed to my brother's death, and I don't like it at all.
There was no disrespect or anything meant in that by asking you that question.
Oh, I know. I can tell by your tone. He just, I've always been of a board. I got in trouble all the time and stuff, and Elvis personally got me out of jail. I'm not proud of that, but when I got in trouble as a kid, he was there for me. So these doctors, I know about that stuff. I went through it as a kid, so Nick shouldn't be putting a finger. I'll just say it that way.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.